Hey guys, my name is Raven Phoenix and welcome to the Structure of Man, Learn to Draw the Human Figure from your Mind Training course. Okay, so here we've, in the previous lesson, basically figured out the whole pulley system and what's going on with the muscles in the jaw area here and on the side. So now we're going to start to look at the muscle that's going to be here surrounding the eye. And this is where we will really, the mind is finally start going to understand why the eye area looks the way it does, right? So we're really not going to be looking at how to draw eyes right now at this moment. We really just want to understand what in the world it goes on here that creates the eye bags and creates this, right? It's going inside here. What's causing those characteristics to come out? So to understand this, basically where you have this area here, see, we now have to start to think in 3D here, right? This is going inside here, right? This is an eye socket. So over here, we know that over here, this is really it's going to be going inside, but this is really more of a curvature over here, right? It's going to be like this, like you're going to get this mark. So what happens is that where this is, right, on the side, you're going to get this muscle over here, right? Basically, this muscle is going to start to go like this, and where this area is, it's going to go right around it on top, right? So this will now help us to understand, okay, now I'm beginning to get some idea of how we are able to now move our eyebrows, right? So this area here is really, if your eyebrow was here, you're going, and this is your eye, this is like this fat area here that you're going to get on your face, right? So basically this guy latches on to this whole thing here. See this thing here, this whole thing, this thing is just going to go around it, and over here it's going to come down, and basically this is where the line for the cheek was, and this is the eye, so it's going to be halfway over here, right? Look how down this thing is going to come, and basically it's just going to go back where it came from, right? So we could just very slightly sketch this out like this and begin to now understand, okay, and we're beginning to get some idea of what's going on, right? So this is going to be that muscle here, but the thing is that this muscle here is all the way around in here. So here's where we're now going to begin to start to understand the eyes. So basically where this is, right, this is the nose here. So here we've determined, okay, look, where's the center? The center is going to be here, so your eye is going to be on this line here. So the understanding for this is basically the eyes are 3 eyes apart, right? So here we're going to mark this here, and let's say this is the eye here. So if we take this measurement and go over here and then go over here, basically you want to measure enough out so you get your eye here, the outer edge near close to this bone. Okay, so if you take your finger and now start touching this, you see this is the corner of your eye, start touching this, you'll see how close this corner is to this bone, right? You can feel it, that's how close it is. So just keep that in mind for future reference, right? This is going to make a big impact in your understanding. So for now, we're really not going to look at the shape of the eye. All we need to do is really just draw out this idea here for the eye to go like this, right? So the eye is going to be here. And over here, just do the same thing. Just draw it out like this. And if you feel that your eyes are not the same size, just correct it, right? So here I'm just going to do it this way over here, okay? So here, basically, what happens is that over here, you're obviously going to get your eyelash, right? So your eyelash is going to have this area here that's going to be like this. Now, what's important to understand about this is this part here, this line here, your top eyelid. I'm sorry, the eyelash is going to be here. I mean the eyelid. The eyelid here is going inside, right? It's going inside, so meaning that over here, if we draw out the eye over here, right, we're saying that over here, we know that it's going to be close to this over here, the opening. It's going to be, right, this is the, here we're saying that over here, this is going to be the center for the eye. So it's just basically going to be like this, and then your eyelid is going to be like this on top. Okay, so here we're going to, I know these are actually very intricate details here, so I'm going to keep the pencil a little sharp here, just so we can understand. Your eyelid is going to be just like this. Okay, so your eyeball goes in here. Okay, so what happens is that you see this line here for the bone structure, this line here, this will help us to understand, okay, now this is all starting to make sense, right? Because we have to keep this in mind, especially when we get into to be able to draw it in a 3D form, is that this guy here, see, now if we draw out this muscle, we know that this muscle is just basically going to come over here from the side, right? It's going to go all the way around like this, right? And then obviously it's going to come like this and halfway across. It just wants to go back in where it was, right? But look where it's connecting. It's not going to the nose or anything. It's just going to be like this. But look that this area here now is going to start to go dip in, right? This is it's like a piece of cloth that you're putting, and now it's starting to sink in over here, right in there. So you know that from here where this bone was, it's going to start to sink in over here. This is why your area over here is always going to be darker. So let's first draw out the fibers for this muscle area over here, so we can start to understand what in the world is going on here with these muscles. This will start to make more and more sense to you as we move along. So here I'm going to, let's put these muscle fibers here, just make them go in this circular idea first. Okay, so now when it goes into over here, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to come down and just put these muscle fibers in. Right, and then of course these muscle fibers are going to be going in this way. Okay, so now here's a very interesting understanding that's going to come about this. So we already know that this part is close to the bone, right? But look at this. This is the eye socket over here, right? This is the eye socket. So the same thing is going to happen over here. That where this eye is, right, you're going to get the basically the same concept here under the eye, but this is going to go in. So over here, where your eye is, for now we're just going to put this line down because we have to look at the eye much more closer to understand the qualities of this, the characteristics of this. But because of this line where this is, you're also going to get this to be a little more darker, right? The idea here is that we want to make this a little more dark, and here we begin to understand, okay, this is now even making more sense, right? So when people read old age, not only do you get this area here, but this is where the eye bags come from, because of this space between this bone in here, that this starts to flab, right? And this is where your eye bags will start to come from. Right, so here I'm just going to make this a little more darker, but basically what I'm showing you is that this whole thing is a muscle that goes in, but you have to take into account what exactly happens here, right? So here you could say, okay, so this area for the side of the jaw that we're talking about is going to have an impact on anatomy, on the surface anatomy, and this is going to have an impact, and this part is going to have a major impact with these muscles, right? So what happens here is that now when I'm going to put this muscle, I'm going to make this all dark, right? Because I'm making this dark is because look how deep inside it's coming, right? So from over here, I know that this is the bone structure. I can see it, right? And then it's going to start to come up. And then basically it's just going to be like this, all right? So it's going to be much more darker inside. And over here, we're going to do the same thing. Much more darker inside over here, and then it's going to be much more lighter over here. Okay, but this is all muscles, right? So this whole outline that I'm showing you, this is the outer structure of that muscle, right? So the characteristics, the thing that to understand from this is that this area here is going to be all darkish, right? Because the reason this is inside is because look what happens, it's inside the eye socket. And this is where you'll get your eye bags, and here you can even feel that with your finger. If you go close to it where this line is, you can actually feel that line to begin to understand where the eye bags are coming from, right? So here I'm just going to just clean that up like this over here. So obviously over here it's going to be the same concept. You're just going to make those muscle here. I'm going to sharpen the pencil. So this is going to do the same thing. It's just going to be muscle fibers here, going like this, right? And then we know, okay, now it's going to start to dig in over here, right? It's going to get darker because it's going inside, right? So basically you got to create that illusion from here that, look, this muscle really now is going to sink in to that eye socket here, right? So without this understanding, it's much more difficult to understand what happens with surface anatomy, right? So this is going to be your area for the eye bag. So this really doesn't have to be that dark here. It's really this area here that I'm showing you, right? So here you can just put in like this here for the eye socket, for the eyeball over here for now. Right? We'll look in here. We'll look when we look at the understanding of the eye much more closer. Everything is going to make more sense, but this will give us that background information that we need to know. So here I'm just going to finish this off like this over here. Okay, so we haven't looked at the eye at all. We're just looking at how these ideas come into play over here, right? So for this end over here, I'm going to have to do the other end also, but over here it's going to be the same thing. But over here we're going to do this over here. We know that it's going to go like this basically, and it's going to come here, and it's going to be half of this going in this direction, right? It's just going to go down in this way over here, just like this. So we'll do the same part over here. Now we have to take into account, okay, this is going like this, so how do we handle this? Well, we just do it like this over here, right? And this is going to be just going in circles like this. So now when you get the understanding for this is that when you draw when we look at in the forms, we'll understand this concept here. So when you draw out the line, you would have to understand that everything sinks in, right? The eye is not at the same level as the nose, it sinks in. So keep that in mind. So here basically I'm going to do the opening for the eye over here also, right? So here we're just going to do like an opening here. We're not drawing out eyes, just need an opening over here. And then over here we're going to have to kind of like think of this in 3D, right? Right, remember this end here is going to be much more closer to the bone area, right? So this here is going to be the same thing. We're just going to get that eyelid over here like this, right? So here I'm just going to erase these ideas and make them a little more lighter, right? So here I'm just going to go like this, and over here go over here like so, right? So it's going to be the same. This is going to be very easy. Just follow the fibers. First follow the fibers around this whole idea of the eye, right? And then begin to understand slowly in your mind as to what is going on three-dimensionally over here. Right, so here we're going to now start to put this across, this over here. Right, so now it's the same thing that over here we know, okay, this is really going to be much more darker in this area because it's now going much more deeper in. Right, so we're going to have to now start to think about this stuff in 3D and start shading just this area in a little more darker. Right, so build up the idea slowly. Don't just darken it. Right, and keep an eye out for this idea here, that this is the bone over here. Right, so it's obviously going to be much more darker on this area, but now it's coming more towards us. It's not going to be that dark. Right, so here I'm just going to make an eyelid into here, and this gives us the understanding here is okay, right? That's really going to be the bag of the eyes, and look how automatically it forms that shape for us. Right, so here I'm just going to wrap this up. Right, so here, right, so what happens is now when your eyebrows will come here, you'll also understand, okay, understand how deep this is going, right? This is really a deep area in here. Even if you look at your face in the mirror, you'll start to notice how deep this is compared to here, right? It goes really in. So basically from here on, we just need to complete these muscles here. Just go around with the fibers. Okay, and then over here, I know that this area, this whole area here, it's really just going to be deep, right? So in this one, I'm first going to put the fibers down first because I know where this bone structure is, right? So all of this has to be built up first, right? So you know that, okay, it's making more sense. This is just going to be fibers going all the way across, and then we're going to start to get this area here to be much more darker, like this, right? And then over here, I'm going to just get that line over here. And just draw out the fibers going in this way. Right, so I'm just marking a little bit here for the eye bags. Right, so we can usually give it a better outline to bring it out a little more over here. Okay, so here we just have this part left, so let's complete him over here. We know that it's just going to be like this, going in this direction, come around, and it's going to go just like this. So just get it done conceptually first, and then start thinking about rest of the ideas, right? So here we said an eyelid. Over here, we're going to get a little bit on the bottom over here, right? And then your eye bags are over here. So here, again, it's the same thing. I'm just going to follow the fibers. And then over here again is the same concept with the eye bags. Okay, so we know, look at the shape of this bone structure, so how the eye bags are formed. I'm going to just put it in lightly over here. Right, and again, this area here is really just going to be like this, and it's going to be much more darker in here. Right, so obviously if you have a light source on this, which we're staying away from, you get much more shadows, right? So in the here, just put a little bit here under the eye over here to bring that out, bring a little more out of the eye bags over here. I'm just going to finish it out by doing this outline, just like this. Okay, so here we've understood this conceptually, right? This is probably the most important part of the human head to understand as to how this part here really goes inside over here, right? It's really inside because of the way that is structured. Okay, so I'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks.